So the three of you had worked as guards.
The guard was creating a mini economy. Gated community becoming a theater of commerce was the aha idea, and that's how the name Mygate came into the existence. We have to really go after putting Mygate in every gated community possible. Go from about 4,000 communities to about 25,000 communities. The revenue was near zero. A fraction of a 20 million households of gated community using your product.
The elephant in the room on data and privacy. We noticed also a strategic investment from Acko and Urban Company.
You cannot be in a community and not use Mygate. A big credit to all of you guys at Prime who believed in the thesis that we had 8 to 9,000 crore of invoices being raised on the Mygate platform. The word employee is banned in Mygate. I will be very disappointed to hire any senior people externally. This will be first profitable year of Mygate.
All right, Abhishek, great to have you on our Prime Ventures podcast again.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Been wanting to have this podcast with you for the past 12, 18 months, and you've always been dodging me and then doing podcasts with everybody else. So finally caught you here.
I'm glad to be here, Sanjay.
It's great to have you. Maybe we can start a little bit with your journey, Abhishek, and then also the start of Mygate, the early days, how did the idea start? Still a lot of mystery around that, and though it's been documented a few times, but I'd love for you to share that with our audience as well.
Sure. Thanks, Sanjay, for having me. And lovely to share the Mygate journey. Quickly about myself, engineering background, went to US for my master's, then came back. I worked in US for about 12 years. I had always in my mind to come back to India, and that happened back in 2009. Came back, did an MBA from Ahmedabad, 1-year program, joined Goldman Sachs, and I was there for 6 years from 2010 to 2016. And founder of Mygate, Vijay Arisetti, also was in Goldman Sachs, who joined about a year back. And we had this 5 years of common overlap where we became very good friends, met each other multiple times. And I think that's the place where the initial seeding of, you get this bug of kuch karte hain, right? We should, the startup ecosystem in that 2013-14 time was unfolding. And we were starting to see lots of interesting sort of opportunities, but did not know where to jump in. So that period was 3 years. And Vijay left Goldman. A couple of months later, he calls back or calls me and says, hey, there's some interesting observation, an idea. I think it could be a game changer. And that's the conversation that led to me joining Mygate, which is a friend from ISB days, Shreyans, also jumped in the journey. Three of us started Mygate back in 2016.
Wonderful. And it's been quite the journey. I think we got the privilege of meeting you guys. I remember, in fact, the funny thing was probably in the first 20 or so communities, one happened to be my partner, Amit Somani's, and the other was Shripati Acharya's community. Yeah. And, that sort of was the start of how we connected with you. And yep. I once visited Amit and I jokingly gave my name as the Super Swami.
Yeah.
And the next day I went to Shripati's place and the guy asked for my mobile number and the guard said, oh, Super Swami sahab. And then the three of us got together. We couldn't stop talking about it, saying, wow, this is sort of interesting here.
Yeah.
And of course, none of you guys had a common LinkedIn network connection with us, but we managed to find one person and reached out. And of course.
So what was interesting, Sanjay, is the story in itself is quite interesting. How independently all three of you partners got to experience Mygate in your respective communities, and that sort of gave you the idea that something interesting is happening. I'll just share, because, you did ask what was the reason for you to start Mygate, right? I think some interesting observations that was happening around us. One, very clearly, we were migrants to Bangalore and incidentally or intuitively, we all chose to stay in gated communities. And while staying there and Vijay being a keen observer of what's happening around him, we obviously observed that gated communities is becoming a preferred place for people to stay. And later when we dug deeper, we realized that it is not just a Bangalore phenomena, it's just all India phenomena, right? Especially in tier 1, tier 2 cities. People are preferring to stay in gated communities as they are moving into these cities for employment, education, and whatnot. But and the reason is, one of the key reason is security and sense of knowing who's coming in, a safe place for kids to play. And second is just access to amenities, which public infra frankly are lagging and lacking. So these two combined with the third interesting phenomena is what we saw is just gated community becoming a theater of commerce. And we started to see in those days Amazon, Flipkart, Big Basket were becoming very, very active. So the number of footfalls of external deliveries coming inside the gated communities was starting to be on the rise. And we saw that the existing security process will completely break down. So this unique idea of connecting the external visitor to the guard to the resident, so that the resident has the ability to know on their fingertip on their mobile who's coming and what's happening about their home, was the aha idea. And that's how the name Mygate came into the existence. Yeah.
No, wonderful. I think it was one of those ideas at the time which seemed like a breakthrough, but also was like, I think the first reaction was, of course, seems like an obvious thing. Why didn't I think about it earlier?
Yes.
Why wasn't this done before, etc.
Yeah.
And I think there was sort of that phase where we were sort of transitioning from at the most a feature phone to a smartphone. And I think one of the insights that you left me with in the first meeting, why we really felt you guys had done your thinking of the market, because it was still with 20, 30 communities.
Yes,
it's not really PMF is sort of a strong
Correct.
word to use. Was that the three of you had worked as guards, and you had the insight that the long pole into the tent was really the acceptance by the guards, not by the residents.
Correct.
Because the residents would see the convenience, but if the guards weren't able to accept it, then they would just say it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about that part, right? Because many of the entrepreneurs listening in will be thinking about how do we establish PMF, and how do we identify what the biggest risk is?
I think it's a great question, because we all have great ideas and we feel that we can build a product that will just create disruption and everybody will seemingly adopt it without doubt. But I think the proof of the pudding really comes when you hit the ground. For us, we knew that if this product has to be successful, our probably the weakest point and maybe the strongest point would be the security guards who have to operate the product in a way, right? They are key stakeholders. And so we went in with that idea of let's just shadow the guards, work as guards, and be behind them and sit with them for entire day. And we did this for about maybe a month. And I think that was eye-opener from many, many fronts. So first aspect was, how do you design an interface that's easy for the guards to use? And when we were shadowing and looking over the shoulders of how guards operated, they were used to making the visitor write in a register, and they would have this traditional landline intercom, and they were used to using the number 0 to 9 to call the resident, pick up the phone and say, delivery executive, Sanjay, delivery executive from X is waiting, and you would say yes, no. So this muscle memory for them to use that 0 to 9 was quite strong. And that was the idea of creating a user interface that was 70-80% like a phone dial, right? And we really wanted that guard just to make the seamless transition from a traditional intercom to use our mobile application and only use numbers. So that was a very key insight. And the second multiple insights we received was we really felt that the problem statement unfolding or that we can solve is beyond our original imagination, right? We are first thinking from the perspective of external visitors and security guard and residents. But when you shadow the guards, you realize that the guard is actually was creating or managing a mini economy, right? Mm-hmm. Because playing on the asymmetry information of what the guard knows about the community, that guard is the go-to place for real estate brokers, right? Who would probably incentivize the guard to find out which homes are available, where are tenants staying, when they are moving out. And interestingly, in the morning time from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., these guards would get hundreds of calls from residents just to check if their maid or cook or nanny has come in.
Wow.
And this was a daily phenomena. And I think that was a very interesting insight. And our initial product really solved for that, which became quite a hit when we went to the market.
Yeah, I remember, one of your early angels, Amiya Pathak, who was my co-founder at ZipDial.
Yeah.
When I was checking with him, he said, I invested in this company because they actually solved a problem for, not to be sexist here, but for the woman of the household. They wakes up in the morning, wants to know if my maid is in the community, if my cook is in the community, or do I have to make alternate arrangements? And to him, that was like an insight or an outcome of a well thought out product that we had. And that was an interesting point. So if you trace the journey now that the company is 8 years old, close to, probably 3 phases.
Yeah.
One was sort of the early PMF, kind of the time when we met you, and maybe even the first 12, 24 months beyond that, right? 2017, 2018. And then you went into this mode of a blistering scale up, right? Went all the way from, the 20 communities that you were at when we met to now then 20,000 communities. Yeah. And then the third phase now, which is very disciplined execution and monetization, and so on. So maybe you can trace sort of the 3 phases, or talk about the 3 phases and what some of the key issues were that you were trying to address, and life in each of those phases.
Yeah, I think each phase truly are very different from each other. Each phase has its own set of challenges, and as founders, leaders, co-founders, you have to sort of evolve to manage each stage. So the first stage was really about early 2017, which is when in April you guys came in and saw that opportunity, to, I would say, 18 and 19. So the first 3 years. I think first 3 years we were very convinced that if Mygate has to truly become a large company and meaningfully large company in India, we have to really go after putting Mygate in every gated community possible, thoughtful way, right? Because we had not raised enough money. I mean, we had raised some money, but not enough money to completely go blitz in that period. So that period was about product market fit, focus, going from one city to another city, identifying the right set of people who would come in with a long-term vision, attracting talent. And as pre-Series A, Series A, and later Series B happened in 2019, this first 3 years was about, one, keep evolving the product as we keep getting more and more insight. And it was geographical expansion, across India. Post Series B, which is late 2019, and then the onset of COVID happened. And we also have some, competition who was throwing both money and both capital and people on the problem. It was about going into an explosive, exponential land grab, which is go from about 4,000 communities, and we went to about 25,000 communities from 2020-21. And that period was where the brand was quite established. We scaled exponentially. We had large teams across the country. But the challenge was the revenue was near zero, right? We had a great brand, great DAU MAU, but revenue was near zero. So the third phase was truly not just for the investors who believed in us, but for ourselves. Take those revenue opportunities that we had imagined when we started Mygate, that if you have let's say a fraction of a 20 million households of gated community using your product, multiple business opportunities can be built on top of it. From 2022 to last, 22, 23, 24, last 3 years was really proving that in a very disciplined way, which is what got us here. I think this is how I describe the 3 phases, and happy to deep dive in any space you'd like.
Sure. So before I get into that, and we'll certainly talk a lot about the monetization and, the recent, along the way, the transition from Vijay to you as he decided to move on to being an entrepreneur again, though he's sort of still very actively involved from everything I can see. The elephant in the room on data and privacy, right? I think a lot has been said, written, imagined, and be good to, for you to address the thoughts that, you've seen. Of course, a lot of people have asked these questions.
Yes.
And certainly some in the early days and some over a period of time, and measures that you all have also taken.
Yeah.
So why don't we get down into that, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a very important topic. And, I think overall, it's just sad that in India, this is not considered to be a very serious matter. But to start with, we knew that our product is such that, when you look at a resident home, right, people would ask the question that how are you managing your data or our data, my data, because you're getting to know who's coming to my home, right? So we are very cognizant of this question that would come from the first customer we would sign up. And even prior to that, the three of us, which is both Shreyans coming from technology background and working with big data in Oracle and Digit, Vijay with his defense background and later banking, and my banking background, all three of us, even before starting Mygate, were quite cognizant and sensitive and client confidentiality and data protection by virtue of being in defense and banking and working with big data. All three of us independently were very sensitive about these, right? I mean, Goldman Sachs, from a financial institution, these things are drilled into your DNA right when you join the company, and that something is so critical. So creating a framework where Mygate is seen as a trustworthy company and the data of residents will be protected and not be misused is something that was very critical for us from day one. So we address this from multiple fronts. So first, obviously, from a legal framework, how the contractual obligations that we sign with our clients. Third, internal technology architecture to ensure that there is enough encryption, masking, and data is not being revealed to people who need not know that. To giving
and that includes Mygate employees.
That includes Mygate employees. To allowing residents to know through the app directly who is viewing the data, right to be forgotten. All of these things from multiple angles were taken care of. We had ethical, the best of the India's, or I would say Asia's ethical hackers consulting us and testing our systems on a periodic basis, on a retainer basis. And lastly, making ourselves, I would say, ready for the gold standard of data privacy, which is GDPR of European standards, was something we did back in 2019. Subsequently, with the DPDP Act of India, we are fairly confident that we have done whatever is required to give confidence to our residents and our customers. The data will not be misused at any stage of our life in the Mygate.
Terrific. So, who stores the data, or how long is the data stored? Are there rules around that? And are there any legal requirements for you to store the data for some period of time? Like in banking also, you do have like a period of time.
There is not, there's no specific legal requirements or laws that govern what we do. I think we are broadly governed by the Data Privacy Act of India. Nothing specific except the larger rule in the country. More importantly, where data is stored right now, we use Amazon Web Services to store data. Every community has the right to get the data deleted in 6 months or let's say 18 months or 12 months. They can choose those options. And I think that's how we operate. Yeah.
Got it. So the other part was, I guess, getting to monetization a little bit, right? And the role that advertising plays, and sort of related to the data side of things. So maybe a good segue into that, because when it started out, it was an ad-free app, and over a period of time, of course, it was a SaaS model. Then over a period of time has sort of gone into this hybrid mode of advertising plus SaaS only, and the works. So tell us a little bit about the thinking behind that, and again, how does it relate to the data that's being used here?
So I think the space we operate, which is mostly Resident Welfare Association, which is the legal body that manages the gated community, mostly are our clients. Now, RWA or Resident Welfare Association are nothing but set of residents who have volunteered out of their own goodness, their personal time to run the community and manage the affairs of the community. So obviously, a pretty thankless job, but must do job and the residents themselves volunteer for this. But this is a non-profit organization, right? So one of the key factors they have always in their mind is, how do I protect or save as much as we can? So that's the dynamics, right? And we are offering a world-class software product to RWAs. For us or any company to be able to do so and continuously maintain the quality of this product, quality of service, keep innovating so that the end residents and they enjoy the product, we had to create a win-win situation that works for us and works for our clients. So we introduced a couple of options. So one, we said you can use our software product, it's sort of a freemium model, but we will have the right to advertise, but we'll do it consciously, judiciously, so that the end residents eventually does benefit. And the other extreme is, right, you can choose to have complete ad-free experience where, none of the residents in the community will have any ad. Interestingly, I would say the other extreme, there are probably 7 or 8 communities across India out of 20,000 communities or 25,000 communities who have chosen for a complete ad-free experience, right? Because they feel that, and we also introduce an option for the resident as an individual to take a premium version to have an ad-free experience. In addition, part of creating a win-win situation for us, we also introduced revenue share with communities based on what we earn from brands. Nice. I think eventually, we have come to a sort of a happy state where our clients are also happy. They get a rev share from us, from the brand advertisements.
So Mygate becomes a revenue center for them rather than a cost center.
Yes, absolutely. They can continue to enjoy mostly our product for free if they choose to, and eventually the entire ecosystem wins, right? So that's the approach we have taken so far.
Yeah. So I've tried out all actually. So I've seen of course, the ad supported for a while, the community paying the SaaS. And then, of course, I have also tried out personally paying for it just to experience that whole thing. I actually honestly started missing the ads. So I was to very, reluctantly actually say, well, maybe I should go back to the ads, because the ads do tell you something about what's going on in the area and in the community. Also, coming back to some of the other milestones that happened in the company over the past, say, 24 months, we noticed also a strategic investment from Acko and Urban Company. Okay. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that came about, and what are some of the partnerships and things consumers could expect out of these.
So I think before specifically answering about those strategic investment, I think I'll share overall thesis, right? So overall thesis is, we have gone beyond just solving the problem statements around gate and security to practically becoming the one-stop operating system to run the community. And what that means is, the statement I have used is, you cannot be in a community and not use Mygate, because everything that you need from a community living standpoint would be covered in Mygate, right? Right from paying your maintenance service to booking your badminton court, to connecting with your neighbor, to selling your old furniture, to approving a resident, guest invite, and whatnot. So that's one, while we have a B2C thinking there, we also have a very B2B sort of thinking, because at the end of the day, the treasurer, the management committee, and RWA members have to also use our product. Then the guards have to use our product, and the external visitors in a way interact with Mygate. So from day one, we had a very ecosystem building approach. So while core product is there, we also created a very open API architecture approach where and people can integrate, and all those solutions should be visible on Mygate app. For example, access control, boom barrier, e-commerce integrations, where seamless express entry for delivery executives, home services, and so on and so forth. So while we were doing all of these, we had an option when it come to home services. We could have done the entire thing ourselves, but it would take its due course of time to build a world-class, scalable home services vertical. And it was that time when, Urban Company came in and said, why don't we put, a check, and then we'll become strategic partners. Similarly, a similar discussion happened with the founders of Acko, and a similar approach was taken. And not to mention, Prime has been our backers from the very beginning in every round. So obviously, a big credit to all of you guys at Prime who believed in the thesis that we had and continue to back us up. So that's.
Of course, thank you for the shout out, and it's been a privilege for us. But we'll come back to that a little later as we talk about the journey. Look, what is interesting with Mygate is also that. Everybody who looks at the app has an opinion of where you guys should be making money eventually, and what you should be giving away. And it's sort of a company that, people love to love, love to hate, hate to love. I don't know what hate to hate.
Yeah, I think we got all combinations.
Right, all the permutations of that thing. And I'm sure, as consumers, the first reaction is, fairly simplistic app. And suddenly everybody starts saying, they should do this, they could do this, they could be doing this. And of course, I have probably been the most irritating person on that chapter with ideas.
You should be our chief product officer.
I wish you could implement all the things. But some of these things have really been, quite significant for the company, right? And, as a fintech investor, we've always looked at, payments as a big piece. Yeah. Maybe you can share a little bit with the audience the scale of payments that are being processed on the Mygate platform these days. And then, of course, I would like to get back into some of the newer products and initiatives you all have recently launched as well.
Yeah. So taking from what I was earlier saying in the previous question, the product itself has evolved quite a bit, where every aspect of community living is part of the Mygate solution. And one of them is the entire accounting, invoice, expense management piece, where every community has to raise invoices, maintenance invoices or prepaid meter invoices for the individual homeowners to pay. While this product or solution was, not there in the beginning, and it came about in about late 2020, but in the last 4 years, a significant portion of our portfolio has adopted this solution. And I think, I don't think there's any doubt in our minds that we are probably the largest player in the ecosystem providing the solution, and the payment volume is about nearing 4,000 crores worth of maintenance invoices being paid to the Mygate app, and about double of that is as invoices, which is about 8 to 9,000 crore of invoices being raised on the Mygate platform. So that's the scale. But I think we have just scratched the surface on this. Big focus to drive this further as well in coming years.
Wow, that's pretty significant. Now, another ecosystem partner, as you talk about, there's of course the resident, there is all the activity that happens within the community, but you're also the gateway to the outside in some ways. And there's a lot of, domestic helpers that keep coming in. There are regional or hyper-local vendors that are there that keep coming in and out, whether it's a pharmacist or a kirana shop or what have you. Then of course now you have the large D2C brands. Sorry, not the D2C, but the quick commerce brands that are coming in. And you all have gone about also exposing certain APIs and stuff like that for some of these larger players. Yeah. What was the thinking behind it, and how has it been received?
So this Mygate being a facilitator or helping speed up the entry exit of delivery companies as an idea or started with the start of Mygate back in 2016. It was only when we scaled.
Sorry, I just got a Mygate interruption on my phone. Sorry.
It was only after we scaled to a significant level when the other delivery companies truly started to see the value of it. In simplistically speaking, what it means is you order in any of the quick commerce app, whether it's Zepto, Blinkit, Zomato, Swiggy, whatnot, and the moment a delivery executive is assigned, we have an API integration to check if it is a Mygate community, and if it is, the resident gets a pre-approval notification while the delivery executive is on the way. And once approved, the delivery executive gets a OTP entry code, and it just means that the company and that individual saves for each entry maybe 2 to 4 minutes, depending on the situation. And that's a value add for the company, potentially a couple of more deliveries throughout the day. But it's also a value add for this community because it ensures that the delivery executive that has been assigned by the company is the person that reaches the gate, right? Which also is important from a security standpoint, right? So I think this is something that we had envisioned back in 2016, but truly came into reality just maybe 2 years back.
So you're saying made it more secure, and this is something that you all had envisioned, but it's really now practical. And I guess in the days of 10-minute delivery and perhaps 10-minute food,
yes,
now the 2 to 4 minutes can be quite quite significant there. Tell us a little bit about the real estate builders itself, right? Because there's a lot of it. I mean, a lot of India is under construction, as we all sadly have to deal with. But from the builder perspective also, I recall there were times when people would actually say, built with, even in the sales collateral, they would have a Mygate logo in there and things like that. So how important are the builders and the partnerships with them for you guys?
Yeah, extremely important. While RWAs are a significant chunk of our clients across India, real estate ecosystem, we are closely linked to the real estate overall ecosystem. The more the gated communities, which is what we are seeing happening, right? The more the more our footprint increases. We work with builders across the country in all the cities. They are also our direct clients. Build strong relationship, both from the core Mygate software solution, where they would give the opportunity to deploy Mygate when the project is ready to hand over, to now using our platform to even advertise for the new projects, right? Which is truly adding to the revenue side as well, right? So on both front, the entire real estate ecosystem, real estate builders, developers are very key and important clients for us.
Wonderful. And with respect to some of the newer initiatives, right? Recently we saw, and it was quite a surprise to me as well, that it was so advanced in the thought process and thing, but it obviously had been in development for a while. Tell us a little bit about the Mygate locks and what that could lead to over the next few years.
So about 1.5 years back, we all of us in the leadership team sat through and tried to imagine what Mygate would be 10 years, right? While gated community and our focus on gated community building for them and evolving and innovating in that space as gated communities will continue to be our core. But we truly wanted to sort of push that boundary beyond gated communities as well. At the same time, look at how Mygate today is seen as a gated community app, right? But I think if we've sort of stepped back and say, what are we doing really? And two things that came out. We love solving problems in the intersection of security and convenience. Because if you look at security and if you increase security, convenience is compromised and vice versa. So there is a healthy tension between these two aspects, which is security and convenience. Our thought is we introduce solutions where both are not compromised and both are elevated, right? Now, we've been doing that from the sense of gated community for a while and touching the life of individuals from many aspects of gated community living. But the thought was, how can we extend the same thesis, same thought process inside the home? And while, last 5 years, we have been seeing, IoT solution, smart homes, and you manage your heater and AC and curtains through smart devices. We really felt that, again, from the lens of security and convenience, there is a gap. There are existing companies who are providing solutions, but they are looking at in isolation as a piece of hardware. We felt that we can build a platform layer where truly we connect the platform and multiple devices can connect. And we started with door the same way we started with the gate of the community. We started with the door of the home. Mm-hmm. And that's the innovation we did. We launched our product Pan India in October 24. It's been doing well. And, we are, you should look forward to a host of products in the next 12 months in that smart platform of Mygate that you are building.
No secrets being revealed?
No, I think it's known. Video doorbell and a few other products around security will be part of the ecosystem that we are building.
Wonderful. Yeah, I have installed the smart lock. And what has the response been? I think, people have been using it for a variety of use cases. Yes. We put it for the back door initially because it was slightly complicated front door, but it has been very useful.
Yeah.
We have everyone from the maid who comes while my wife is on her morning walk to my son who comes late at night if he's coming from out of town. And earlier, one had to just scurry down to the door, but now you can just either turn it on with an app or enable them with their fingerprint. What are some of the things people are saying about it?
Yeah, overall, I think the response has been beyond what we had imagined. So October was the first month of Pan India launch where we were present in Amazon Marketplace as well. And within 6 weeks, we became one of the best sellers in the category, was tagged with Amazon Choice product. Our reviews and ratings significantly increased. And so these and the volume of sale is also is picking up. So overall, I don't think in such a short span of time, any brand, without having that brand trust could have achieved this. So overall, I feel that it's the love of the customer, the trust in the brand that led to this kind of response. So we're doing well. We'll continue to drive this agenda with multiple products in future.
Awesome. Great. So, one of the other things that happened at Mygate over the past 15 months was the transition from Vijay to you as CEO. And Vijay is, of course, off doing another super exciting security startup in the gated community space again, but kind of unrelated in the smart locker segment. But from a company perspective, as a company that goes through this transition, right? In an ideal world where it was very well planned and smooth and amicable, what are some of the tips you have as other companies go through or keep thinking that maybe it's reached a stage where one of the other founders is probably much more operationally focused, while the one might be more the product thinker and the dreamer and so on. So how should founders think about this transition? And what are some of the do's and don'ts and lessons learned? And,
well, I was thinking, this is not part of the syllabus.
Out of syllabus questions.
But
I have to say, every question was out of syllabus.
Yes,
you handled them well so far.
I was thinking that's a comment I'll tell you after the podcast is over. That this was not the script you'd sent me. But anyway, I think one thing unrelated to question, but that has helped, is truly, we believe that leaders in Mygate have to do those roles before they get it, right? And that's how we have operated. And there's something that I have learned from my previous experiences in corporate, where if you promote somebody a year early, that's bad. But if you promote somebody a year later, that's better than doing a year earlier. So one thing that I've tried to do is, even before the transition or anything was planned, right? Everybody in the company, we insisted as part of the culture that, you will not get a promotion until you are in the role, right? And and when promotion happens, nothing changes because you're actually doing it already, right? I think that probably helped in this case. And second was our natural skill sets also helped as well, right? So while you know Vijay very well, right? I think he pushes the boundary of thought process for all of us. He imagines and sees the opportunity far ahead than at least me, and I can say the same for probably many in the company. So in a way, while this transition was planned or discussed with the board, right? In a way, Vijay was a little bit hands off from day to day, but was actually thinking about what next in Mygate. Doing that moonshot experiments, working on new ideas. So my advice to any of these is these are things not planned or happens in 2, 3, 6 months. So truly it takes a couple of years before everybody feels comfortable with these kind of transition.
Yeah. And also, I think outside of that transition, I think the bigger point you talked about the culture of the company where people have to be in a role, have to prove it before they get the promotion. It also is very healthy in that they're actually guaranteed to succeed in the new role, right?
Yeah.
So, and any of the adjustments. So, while, I think we are in a culture in India where because of the opportunity, people tend to get these promotions sometimes too early.
Yeah.
But growing into that, and it has to do with valuations in startups.
Correct.
Also, you get a premium 2021 valuation, then you have to grow into it. And it's
Yes.
not that obvious that you could.
Yes.
And I think it's the same thing that applies here to individual careers as well. So it's sort of a very astute way of running the ship here. Tell us a little more about the culture of the company, right? I mean, what do you guys do? Is it a work from office culture? Is there a flexible culture? How do you manage the field offices? A little bit about how you guys, keep the team motivated and excited. A bit about the culture of, fun and activities in the company.
Yeah, well, I think it's quite known and in the entire ecosystem, not just startup, any company, and there's enough said about that any company more than structure, culture is what can be both make the company or break the company. So that's not very different here, but and culture of the company and the value system is something that all of us as founders and the leaders have been nurturing, very focused from day one, because we truly believe that the companies have to be built over many decades, and the only common thing that can stay true at the test of time are the values and the culture of the organization that should not change. So first belief is that, I'll start with the phrase, the word employee is banned in Mygate, right? Technically, I am also an employee of the company and everybody else is, but we don't use the word employee in conversations. And it's symbolic, but I insist that we do. And I think by now it's been quite instituted, because the word employee means that you're working for somebody else. I believe that nobody is working for anybody. They're all in Mygate working for themselves. It is just that their aspirations and their ambitions have aligned with Mygate ambitions, and we are in this journey together. A company, any startup, early stages or first few years or the first decade, I think companies, sorry to say, but companies will not be built great in the 9 to 5 environment, especially when you're trying to figure out things. So it's just about that passion, that loyalty, that do whatever it takes attitude, but this cannot be forced upon individuals, right? They have to feel that it is our company or my company. So first you have to make them part of the organization in terms of giving them stock options and at the same time make it as a priced, make that currency a priced currency. Second, treat or make them feel that truly they are driving the organization themselves. Third, when they do well, give them opportunities to sort of scale up their individual performance. So lately, about 6 to 8 months back, I've been publicly, internally inside the company making a statement that every single, I will be very disappointed to hire any senior people externally, right? And with this message is important because everybody should feel that the first, I need to be growing into the roles where I become that candidate for new opportunity or new roles whenever it appears. So that's very important. Second, trust but verify. Leaders have to have the ability to zoom in and zoom out any point of time, right? So if there is a customer issue happening, I should be, I need to sort of be the role model. I need to leave everything and ask such pointed, detailed questions that create, that tells that, I'm not operating only at superficial level. And that culture in the organization is also important, that when it comes to issues, leaders will leave everything and deep dive, and they will check everything, right? So the trust but verify is something that I drive, as part of the culture. Third is around, just the values, which is innovation, speed, excellence, and translating into what it means, right? Which is, if you say excellence, meaning chalta hai is not chalta hai, right? Before the discussion, we said, I was just giving an example. The particular customer who bought our smart lock from US is facing challenges around managing it from US. He has a tenant at home, so he wants to give him rights. So the customer has written a pretty detailed email to, including me, which I personally responded. And now this is something that the organization has to personally look into. So customer centricity is a significant part. And I believe that despite whatever challenges we have faced, our focus on product and innovation and service has truly created the customer love, for which we are still around and will continue to grow. So these are some of the points around culture, which truly is why Mygate is what it is today.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the fun things you all have done as a team and in the company?
Yeah, I think we allow people. First is that let people do mistakes, and it comes to part of it also. We let leaders across the cities decide what they want to do in their respective cities. We get together. The technology team is especially fond of cricket, so they get together and play cricket once in a while. Leadership team, we try to go out, and we don't spend too much on that, but we try to go out and spend some time overnight. We have a year-end party, which as founders, we get some, 30, 40 people together for that as well. So a bunch of these things, and obviously celebrating all the different festivities together is part of what we do.
Superb. So last question from my side. I think we're just coming up to the 45-minute mark here. What keeps you excited and motivated over the next 12, 24, 36 months, and what should we be expecting for Mygate?
One thing that we are pretty excited. I mean, last 2 years have been very exciting for us, but every stage of the journey has got us where we are today, right? So there is no, somebody in a different conversation was asking us or asking me, what would you have done differently? The answer to that was probably would have started the revenue journey a year earlier than what we did. Otherwise, I would not have changed anything. So today, in the last 2 years, we have reached a stage where financial year 25, we will grow year to year, full year, about 80%. We already are cash break even, almost now 13 months. We will be generating profits this year. So this will be first profitable year of Mygate. So that's a significant milestone that we are very excited about. And the same focus of running the company in a sustainable, financially prudent way, at the same time growing at a reasonable 50 to 60% rate year on year is what we are aspiring to drive in the coming years. And so the overall ambition is make Mygate as a long-term company, put Mygate in probably 20 million households across the country, and drive multiple business verticals as part of the overall company structure.
Wonderful. Well, we are, of course, big fans and cheerleaders, and wish you and the Mygate team all the very best. And congratulations again on, I guess, what's now a close to 9-year journey.
Yes.
So kudos to you, and thank you very much.
Dear listeners, Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app for free, and you'll be the first one to know when new episodes are available. Just search for Prime Venture Partners Podcast in Apple Podcast, Spotify, Castbox, or however you get your podcasts. Then hit subscribe. And if you have enjoyed the show, we would be really grateful if you leave us a review on Apple Podcast. To read the full transcript, find the link in the show notes.